Okay, we'll go ahead and I first want to thank everybody, especially the speakers, the attendees, for coming out to the conference. You guys are, the reason why we do this, to make sure that people are educated. They know how, to basically provide the best care for people with sickle cell disease. And most of us love what we do because we've done it for years. I've done it since I graduated in 1994. So, so for closing remarks, I will bring back up Gary Gibson.
Thank you, Keisha. Thank you, everyone that participated today. Most importantly, want to just thank our speakers. We've had, I think, a great round of speakers, and I think that we've learned a lot from them. But most importantly, it's just great to have people that are interested enough to come from different parts of the country here into Central Indiana to share their expertise and to share their passion for what they do. So all of the speakers that were here, thank you so much. Our sponsors, Indiana Hemophilia and Thrombosis Center and IU Health, we couldn't do these things without them, and we're very appreciative of them. I also would like to thank the organizers and planners, particularly Julie Marion and Ace Ramirez, as well as help from other people of our staff. So please give them a round of applause. This morning you heard from Dr. Althea Grant about the disparity, and I just want to touch on that for just a couple moments, and then we'll let you go. I think it's important to understand that we have to change this situation of disparity. And the first thing that we have to do is understand that disparity exists. And I think Dr. Grant did a very good job of talking about that, but she didn't cover the whole realm of the disparity. I hope that you've picked up a copy of the white paper that I wrote called Sickle Cell Disease, the Ultimate Health Disparity, because it is full of information about the different aspects of the disparity that is involved with sickle cell disease. And for me, it's important for everyone that's within the sickle cell field to understand that that exists. Why? Well, it's just like it is in behavioral psychology. You cannot fix a problem or correct or treat a problem until you acknowledge that you have a problem. And we are short within the society of recognizing that sickle cell is a disparity. And it will not happen unless there are voices like ours that make that difference, that make people aware. There's so much noise, there's so much activity that people are involved with every day that you have to get in front of them. They have to hear you in order for your message to get across. And if you are not putting your message across, they won't hear you. And there's plenty of other things to capture their attention. So it's important for the people within the sickle cell field to stand up and be loud about the fact that sickle cell is still here, it still causes pain, it's being treated in a disparate way, and those are things that people need to hear. And if we don't put that message out there, nobody will hear it. It's just that simple. So it's really up to us to make a difference. I have been involved with sickle cell in some form or another since 1973. That's 40 years. And I have not seen a lot of change. The change that I've seen is in the medical side. The penicillin prophylaxis, hydroxyurea. I have not seen change in regards to how society deals with sickle cell. And that's got to change if we're going to see these disparities disappear. We have to make that happen. It's not going to happen if we don't push to make it happen. And that, to me, is the critical message. Any change that's ever taken place in our country and in our world comes from people demanding that change. It's true with anything you can think of where progress has been made. And also, another factor is that governments have been involved in these major changes. If we don't push our governments to be involved in this, it won't happen. And I can tell you, whether it's labor laws, whether it's environmental laws, or other things that affect our own general health and welfare, if it wasn't for government demanding these things through regulations and or appropriations and or legislation, those changes would not have happened. And those changes came as a result of people demanding them. So where are we when it comes to that? Where are we in the sickle cell community when it comes to demanding these changes? So it's important that we talk to our elected officials and let them know that, for one, there's not enough money in their budgets, whether it's the federal budget, whether it's the local budgets, the state budgets. There's not enough money there for research. There's not enough money for care. And the only way that we can approach that and correct that is to get more money. There's disparities in legislation, and there's legislation for hemophilia. There isn't for sickle cell at this point in time. You saw Dr. Grant's slide where there is federal funding to CDC for hemophilia of $16.8 million and zero for sickle cell. And that's wrong. I care about the people with hemophilia, don't get me wrong. There's 1/5 the number of people with hemophilia that have sickle cell. And there's $16 million in the budget for the federal budget for hemophilia and zero for sickle cell. If that's not disparity, somebody in here needs to tell me what is. And that's what we have to change. But I will tell you, because I've worked in government, and unless they hear that this exists, they don't know it exists. And if you have any knowledge of how government works, and you've been hearing more and more about it lately, lobbyists and all these other things, if you have any knowledge, the people that, the policymakers, the elected officials are always getting bombarded with somebody asking for something. If you're not in line asking for it, they don't know you exist. And that's why it's important for us to make a difference by changing our approach and saying to people that are in policy-making positions, did you realize that there is 5 times more people in the United States that have sickle cell than have cystic fibrosis, and there is no money for sickle cell, but there's $16 million for cystic fibrosis? Did you realize that? And I bet you 98% of them will say, no, I didn't. And that isn't right. But unless we bring it to their attention, they won't know. And if they don't know, they won't act. So it's kind of up to us to make that happen. And at Martin Center Sickle Cell Initiative, we're trying to do that. We've been hitting our local legislators, and we even have met with our congressperson's office to try to show them this. But we can't do it alone. And that's the other difference between us and hemophilia, or us and cystic fibrosis, is that they go en masse, and they show up and they demand. And this is something that needs to happen with sickle cell that has not yet happened. And that's why I can sit here and tell you, for the 40 years that I've been involved with it, or known of it, or had it affect my life, that nothing's changed in that regard. And that is not right. So what I'd like to do is just encourage each of you to remember that. And there's some things that I think are important, and let me quickly touch base on those. And first, become as informed as possible about sickle cell. I mean, all of us know something about it, but we don't know everything about it. One of the things we tried to accomplish today in our session was to let doctors understand that there's psychosocial aspects of sickle cell, which a lot of doctors don't. It's clinical to them. And that really is all there is to it. So we wanted doctors to get a sense that, you know what, these people that we're treating, they have lives. And there's complications in their lives that sickle cell has brought to them that actually may be affecting their ability to get better. And we think that in the past, there has not been enough knowledge of that. And this is something that we think needs to change. But we have to become informed about these things and share that with people. We also need for people that have sickle cell to learn more about the disease they have. It is amazing sometimes when we talk to people that have sickle cell that don't know enough about the disease they have. So information is power, and we all know that. The more that we are able to inform people about what we know about sickle cell, the more the chance that we'll have people that will help us provide care for people with sickle cell and help us advocate for people with sickle cell. That's the knowledge component. So the second thing that we can do once we learn as much as we can is to inform others and try to encourage them to learn more and share what they know with others. 3, like I just said, talk to our elected officials. Make sure that they understand there's not enough money. Make sure they understand that there's this disparity that's out there. You know, our government is designed, or is supposed to, protect equal opportunity. Why doesn't that apply, or shouldn't that apply, to genetically transmitted diseases? We actually prohibit discrimination on the basis of age, race, sex, orientation, etc., etc., etc. I believe that we should take a look and make sure that people understand that hemophilia, cystic fibrosis are getting unequal treatment compared to sickle cell, and that is against our beliefs and our policies and our fundamental principles of equal opportunity. That makes no sense, particularly when you see the government funding these diseases and research for these diseases at rates that are higher than what they fund sickle cell. That is discriminatory treatment. Number 4, I think, is that we have to be sure that we remain committed to the fight, that we have to ensure that, you know, making a difference in anything requires energy and it requires a focus. You have to stay focused. You have to stay committed to it. Only commitment and resolve can provide that energy that's necessary to make change. So we have to be committed to this. I think importantly, we have to understand that this is a battle. And this is a battle that has been going on for a long time. And in my mind, it is a battle against inequality, and it is a battle for better life quality. For those that have sickle cell, I am tremendously concerned as we see these advancements that have helped people with sickle cell live longer and see those life expectancy numbers go up. But sickle cell is still with them, and they still suffer from sickle cell. And we have more and more and more people living longer with sickle cell. I am willing to bet my house on and tell you that today we have more people alive in America with sickle cell than we ever have at any one time. What does that mean? We don't have the support systems in place to support them, but we have more people living with sickle cell, more people living in the pain of sickle cell, and more people living with the complications of sickle cell. And that's something that we need to be prepared for, and something that I don't think we are prepared for at this point in time. And as we continue with our docs that are making the progress as they are, with the people like Brian from Mass Therapeutics coming up with drugs that are going to help, people are only going to be living longer. And there's going to be more people with sickle cell than ever before. But they are still going to have sickle cell. They are still going to have the psychosocial implications that come along with it. They're still going to have problems with their finances. They're still going to have problems with their mental health, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We have to change that. And that is a battle for us to do. I think another important thing is to ask you to help us raise funds. It's simple. Everything goes on money. We spend a lot of time trying to find money. And the reason we're doing that is not just to pay salaries or put out publications. It's to be able to provide service to people that have sickle cell. That's what we really want to do. And that's what we exist to do. But we need money to do that. And we need people helping us raise money, because more and more and more competition for money is tight. I talk about this a lot. You are being bombarded every day with somebody wanting some of your money. It happens so much you don't even pay attention to it. Every day there are advertisements coming at you from all kinds of directions, whether it's a cause, whether it's somebody wanting you to buy something from them, a car, a house, clothes, food, whatever. All day long, you are being bombarded by people wanting your money. And it's hard for people like us to get a piece of that. And that requires people like you to help us do that. And finally, I just want to wrap up with something else. I think it's important for us to believe, and I think one of the problems that's affected sickle cell is that People know, have felt all this time, it's incurable, so what's the point? I think we need to have a different viewpoint. We have to believe that victory is possible. We have to believe that. And I believe that we can find victory if we believe that. And for proof, let me say that since the peak of its epidemic in the 1950s, polio has been virtually eliminated. Smallpox has been almost eradicated. Tuberculosis is almost non-existent. And though these are diseases that are not genetically transmitted like sickle cell, they have one thing in common, and that is a strong commitment to get rid of them. And that commitment has involved cooperative partnerships from governments and doctors and scientists and pharmaceutical companies and advocacy groups and private citizens all coming together to get rid of those diseases. That's what we need with sickle cell. That's what we haven't had. And that's what we need. And if we have that, then we can see the day, I think, one day, where we be able to say sickle cell is now among those diseases that is controlled. But until we cohesively bond together and stay stuck on that, stay focused on that, it won't happen. It's that simple. It's up to us. And we hope that we've helped you today by providing you with information, by providing you with the speakers that have the expertise, and giving you that information that you need to have an understanding of the scope of this disease that continues to affect 100,000 people in our country and 1,000 people in our state and 2 million plus people worldwide. Can't we do something to change that? Yes, we can, but we have to bond together and do that. And we hope that today helps you feel inspired to do that. For those of you that care for the patients, we are so grateful for what you do and can't thank you enough for what you do. But we need you in the fight too. So all I want to say is thank you for being here. Thank you for your attention. And I look forward to working with all of you in the future as we continue this battle. Thank you. Have a great weekend.